Hi racing fans! Happy New Year to all of you. I hope you're well. I hope you're doing fine and it's nice to be back. It's nice to be doing stuff here on the channel. This is the Racing Geek. On this channel we talk about sim racing and the race called life. With rising cases of the new coronavirus happening all around us, it's always a good idea nowadays to stay at home. And sim racing might be the best way for you to have company during these lockdowns or when you're doing quarantine. So let me help you choose a mobile racing app that can keep you company during those boring lockdowns and quarantines. So we're going to do a head-to-head between Assoluto Racing versus Real Racing 3. As you know, for the longest time I've been using Real Racing 3 on this channel, but late last year I've switched to Assoluto Racing, and actually I did my first endurance race on a car. But before that, if it's your first time here on the channel, it's a good idea to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell for notifications. And yes, please feel free to like and share the video. A disclaimer, the in-game footage that I'm going to show you is from Assoluto Racing version 2.7. So, with that, let's go now to our head-to-head and let's see how Assoluto Racing stacks up versus Real Racing 3. So here's how we're going to do it. We're going to rate the two apps based on graphics, control, and gameplay using a 4-star rating system, with 1 being bad, 2 being good, 3 being very good, and 4 being exceptional. Real Racing 3 has exceptional graphics for a mobile app, and it's got good depth of field and significant amount of realism. It has a cockpit view which is quite immersive, and it feels like you're actually in the real thing. The rendering of the cars is quite good, and there is much attention to detail. And the last RR3 that I played in, there's now front damage that can be experienced, although this is limited to mostly dents and cracks on the windshield and some weathering, but still damage is still substantial. And then the sound quality is also nice, and it's almost real, and it plays actually good on stereo. So in the graphics department, in Real Racing 3, the experience of the developers shows here, with the app being launched in 2013 and backed by the giant EA or Electronic Arts. So in this department, Real Racing 3 has 4 stars for graphics. On the other hand, Assoluto Racing has passable graphics quality, and actually it feels much like you're playing Gran Turismo 2. There's also the sounds that they use, the soundtracks that they are using, the background music is mostly a lot like GT2, so it's kind of a retro feel there. The cockpit view is nicely detailed for some cars. This is limited to a selection of cars, and it somehow feels you're inside the car, but several views are quite limited. Rendering of the cars may feel a bit flat, especially in replay mode, and there are no damage models available. Sound quality, as I mentioned, is a bit poor, although some cars sound nicer than the others. As of now, AR is still a work in progress, with the version 2.8 coming out, and I haven't been able to evaluate that, but for the purposes of this comparison, 2.7 has 2 stars in terms of graphics. RR3 has easy to use controls, and there's a lot of options, but RR3 is best experienced in tilt mode. There's a good response of the car to inputs, to the control inputs in general, and the assists actually work, and these can influence handling, specifically braking and steering. There are automatic or manual options for acceleration and braking, but there's no option for manual shifting. You also get good feedback from visuals, such as depth of field, and then from spinning. And there are sound cues, like when you're rolling over the curb or on grass, gravel, there's also squealing tires. And it's possible to push the car to the limit. I actually mentioned before that I prepared for the VS Racing Festival using Real Racing 3, and it helped me get acquainted with the physics of a racing car. But as for the autocross event itself, it was kind of different from what I expected. So on the controls department, RR3 gets 3 stars. For Assoluto Racing, there are several control options, but it looks to be best experienced using the wheel or directional steering and the chase camera view. I think AR is optimized for controller setup, and the setup of the car can affect handling, especially when you are using tilt steering like I do. Assists may sometimes have no effect, so it's best to find the best setup for the car using what is known as grip tuning. There are automatic and manual options for acceleration, braking, shifting, slide throttle, and even clutch. Depth of field can be confusing at some times, especially when you're shifting between cockpit and chase camera view, and there's not much sound cues when you're going off track, except when you're going onto the gravel and hitting the barrier. On this aspect, AR scores 3 on the controls department. Real Racing 3 has a very wide selection of licensed cars and racetracks, including famous tracks like Spa, Monza, Daytona, and Circuit de la Sarthe, and it also offers night and day condition. There are also customization options for the car body, such as paint and decals. You can actually customize the car the way you want it. Gameplay, however, can be limited and repetitive. There's no free practice, and there's no free play mode. There's also no real multiplayer mode and no real career mode. It's actually just a repeating cycle of tasks and races that you have to go through. There's no real progression in terms of skill. But the real disadvantage for RR3 is that everything has to be paid for, and everything is so darn expensive. Why? Tuning and leveling up needs a lot of in-game currency, and at times real-world money, and sometimes tuning is limited to just adding this and leveling up certain skills or certain parts. There's no real tinkering in terms of performance, and everything has to be paid for. So that's a real drawback on the gameplay department. So on this aspect, I will have to give, despite the number of tracks and the number of cars here, and yeah, you can't really buy all the cars that you want. There's a difference between racing credits and then motorsport credits, and then there's real world money, and everything is so ridiculously expensive. So on this part, I'll have to give RR3 a 1 star, or maybe half a star. Assoluto Racing, on the other hand, has an expanding selection of licensed cars, and this includes classic cars like the famous AE86 from Initial D, and an expanding number of tracks, including Tsukuba, Ebisu Motorsports Complex, and it has the Nürburgring Nordschleife. AR is ideal for introvert types who want to learn skills on their own, and it has free practice or free play, and you can actually play against some you can have a custom race against the gameplay AI. However, the game AI has some bugs of its own, Another thing here is there is career mode. You can actually measure your progress against a global leaderboard. And there is multiplayer. There's real-time multiplayer, and you can even create your own lobby so you can race with your friends. The only drawback with multiplayer is, of course, you have some people you can really make enemies with. You need to be careful when creating or joining a public lobby. AR also has comprehensive tuning and customization. Your setup actually matters, and this affects the performance of the car. So as I said before, this is called grip tuning, and this covers from engine setup to wheel geometry or the stance of the wheels. Customization though is limited to paint jobs. So, although there are livery mods from modders out there, but I haven't tried them yet, so I'm not going to recommend them yet. The in-game economy is also quite reasonable, like paying for performance modifications, such as when you're going to buy a new a racing muffler for your car, for upgrading from a stock muffler, and it actually affects the performance of the car itself. And you can buy new cars from the dealer, and there's also option to use real currency or real money for tokens, to buy tokens, gold, or tickets to buy exotic imports, which are performance modded cars. There are several cars that you can buy with in-game credits, and you can modify them as much as you want to the point that you can no longer control them. Tickets work on a raffle principle, and you can actually get new cars using tickets, and I've had several added to my garage because of tickets and by watching ads. There's also community support from local online groups, and they can help you perfect your setup and get the best out of your car. In summary, Real Racing 3 is more casual arcade gaming than simulator, which is a shame because it's got nice graphics and the controls are responsive and really nice, and they're really close to a computer based sim. But the way that the gameplay and the in-game economy is structured, there's not much development that you can get here in terms of developing sim racing skills. But if you're looking for a casual time waster, so this can be the app for you. On the other hand, Assoluto Racing is more challenging and it's closer to a real sim. Although there is work that has to be done in terms of improving the driving experience. So if you're looking for a more immersive sim racing experience that actually includes setting up the car and getting to test your setup in real-time multiplayer, then Assoluto Racing is the app for you. So there you have it. Let me know in the comments what you think, if you're going for Assoluto Racing or for Real Racing 3. And of course, don't forget to like and share the video and hit the subscribe button if you haven't yet, and the bell for notifications. So stay home, stay safe, and stay clean, stay hydrated, wash your hands, and stay free of the virus. And of course, don't forget to run your race, keep the faith, and finish strong. See you in the next video.